And now to Clark High School, where a freshman flutist was recently chosen for the High School Honors Performance Series at Carnegie Hall. That's right, she traveled to New York City to perform on one of the world's most famous stages with some of the world's best young musicians. It is a Thursday morning at Clark High School.
1, 2, air out.
The class, intermediate band.
This is what I wanted to play. So when I picked it up first, I was like, wow.
And freshman Francesca Srinaryana is back in Las Vegas after a life-changing trip to New York City.
I wanted to go because, like I said, I really love my instrument, and I really like to get to know people that also are interested in the same things that I am.
It's a lifetime experience. It's something nobody can take away.
Private flute instructor Cynthia Ferris.
It's called Honors Performance Series. It started in 2010 as an opportunity for high school students to perform at Carnegie Hall.
Francesca auditioned for the opportunity via video, and then came the email.
It said, congratulations, you were accepted, and I was in the symphonic orchestra, and that's the highest one that there is, so I was really happy.
Not long after, Francesca and her mom were on a plane to New York City.
I just feel like music is an international language that everybody understands and can appreciate, and so I want her to be able to experience it and share it.
First came rehearsals.
There was a couple kids from outside of the U.S. They were all high school students like me. They were amazing. They were really good players. They were the best.
Before the big performance at Carnegie Hall.
It was my jaw was on the floor. It was so big.
It was wonderful to have my daughter on the Carnegie Music Hall stage playing an instrument that she loves.
The Honors Performance Series was an incredible learning experience.
Any kind of honor group, especially something like that where it's at the national level, it helps kids get inspired, but also it introduces them to much more challenging music, which is always good for their growth.
I think it's helped me not just in music, but in other places, like my work ethic and everything.
And celebration of talent.
Francesca is a natural with the flute. We learned several years ago that the wand picks the wizard and the flute picked Francesca. It was just a natural fit for her.
That has inspired Francesca in so many ways.
I'm going back into the spring for spring break, and I want to go back to Carnegie Hall so I can watch a professional orchestra play.
Congratulations, Francesca, so proud of you. And we should mention that more than 10,000 students were nominated for the Honors Performance Series between all of the ensembles. What an incredible honor to be selected. Well, Nevada Reading Week just concluded, and this year's theme, Color Our World with Books. You probably saw this super cool logo on t-shirts, flyers, and just about everything. But did you know that this logo was designed by a Nevada student? In fact, more than 750 students from across the state took part in the Nevada Reading Week Art Contest to create this year's official logo, and the grand prize winner is from El Dorado High School.
My name is Kaylin Kindred, and I am a junior here at El Dorado High School. What I like about drawing is that you can just basically create anything.
So Nevada Reading Week is a statewide celebration of the love and joy of reading. So every year we have a new logo that matches the theme. So this year is Color Our World with Books. In the spring we do a big announcement, and then that leads into the student art contest.
Our librarian forwarded me information about the Nevada Reading Week contest, and I opened it up to National Honor Society.
I tried to make it as simple because I didn't want too much, so it didn't look like the prompt. But yeah, that's basically it. I tried making it as simple, so I just made literal books coloring the world as little characters.
We felt like her theme was just a very unique take as to having the books actually coloring the world. And we thought that this theme would appeal not only to high school students, but to students in elementary school as well.
And hers was kind of just straight to the point, and it just showed something kid-friendly as well. So I just thought it was a perfect design.
I was pretty surprised because I was walking home and I didn't expect anything at all because I was doing it for fun. And honestly, it was pretty worth it because I get to see my art up in a website and all around Nevada, and people are supporting it.
I think sometimes we focus on the importance of reading. We forget that there's also a lot of joy that happens in reading. And I think that's what the art contest is truly about. It's about the joy of reading and expressing that joy through many different ways.
It's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing for El Dorado. We have a lot of talent here. So, and I just feel like they should be recognized more for that.
She was really proud of me, and I'm proud of myself. Yeah.
You should be proud of yourself.
I am very proud. It's pretty fun seeing your own artworks.
Kaylin, I'm proud of you too. Nice job.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone today. I'm President Irene Bustamante Adams and call this regular board meeting of May 8th, 2025 to order. The time is 5:01. I would like to remind everyone to silence your electronic devices. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the territorial homeland of the New Woo, the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and the Las Vegas Band of Paiutes. Before I open item number 1.01, I'm going to ask Trustee Esparza-Stroffigan. This week is Teacher Appreciation, and I'm going to ask Trustee Dominguez to say a few words as well. Trustee Esparza-Stroffigan.
So, I don't know why that clock is on. We just really want to acknowledge, and we always say that we appreciate, and I don't want to use the word appreciate. I'm going to say that the heart of a school is the adults that care about kids. And our teachers, our educators, are our front line. And so we're so grateful that our teachers, it's not just this week, we celebrate them every day. Yes, we acknowledge the week for our educators and all of the sacrifice and the effort that they do and they take in doing the profession that creates all other professions. So we just want to celebrate you. We want to thank you. We value you. And I see a lot of young faces in our audience tonight. We hope you pursue and you want to become a teacher in the future. It's a great profession. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. On the remarks, behalf of the team, Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to ask the audience and my fellow colleagues to join me in a moment of silence to honor and to just take a moment for the young life lost at Arborview. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dominguez. Now we're going to go ahead and move to the opening item, 1.01, the flag salute. The Pledge of Allegiance is led by Trustee Dominguez. The presentation of colors will be the Shadow Ridge High School ROTC.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move to item 1.02, the adoption of the agenda. Before we open that, is there anyone that has not completed a public yellow speaking card? Okay, seeing none, that is closed. I will ask Trustee John, go ahead and bring that. Is it for item number 1.02, adoption of the agenda? Okay, thank you, sir. Do you want, bring it up to our team member, Ms. Caitlin here? Okay, seeing that it's not for agenda item 1.02, then I'm going to ask Trustee Johnson to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam President, members of the board, I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda with the following change. Reference material has been provided for item 3.02, legislative update.
Thank you. I have a first, Trustee Biasotti.
I will second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes 7-0. Next, we have our consent agenda information 2.0. Before I open that, is there anyone that didn't get to complete a public speaker card? Okay, that is now closed. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Trustee Biasotti?
I will second that motion.
I have a first and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes 7-0. We're going to go ahead and go to the warrants. Trustee Henry.
Thank you, Madam President. The ratified warrants as listed in the bills payable, transmittal, and board memorandum number 18-24-25 in the total amount of $168,627,991.69.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move to agenda item 3.0. This is trustee and superintendent business items. I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This evening, I'm really excited to have our student council, Superintendent Student Advisory Council, do their presentation. As you know, they have worked all year, and many of you have visited and spoken with these amazing young people who represent our school district. And my understanding is that these three that are here, we're extremely lucky to be sitting here because every single person on the advisory council wanted to be before you. So I know they have some of their colleagues with them as well. So with that, I'd like to turn the time over to Todd Story.
And Superintendent, may I ask, you mentioned that there's other members of the Student Advisory Council that are here that are not presenters. I'd like to ask them to stand up. So if you're part of the Student Advisory Council, please stand. All right. Thank you. I know that only 4 of you got to be selected to speak, so it is 3. Oh, you're not a student, but all right, something's going well in that water that you're drinking. So, Mr. Story, please proceed.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, my name is Todd Story. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the Clark County School District. I am joined by Kelsey Rodman, who also passes as a student. She is CCSD's Director of Engagement and Events, and we're also joined by Assistant Superintendent Dr. Brad Keating from Carson City, who is calling in for the meeting tonight. I'm proud to hand over this presentation to 3 amazing CCSD students who have been serving on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council for the past year. They have some great information to provide the board, as well as recommendations for how the district should move forward in a few key areas. With that, I will hand it over to Satali, Ramon, and Cameron.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, this is Ramon Moreno. Good afternoon. My name is Ramon Moreno, and I am a senior from the College of Southern Nevada High School. I'm joined by my colleague, Citlali Gomez, a senior from Chaparral High School, and Cameron Scanson, a senior from Advanced Technologies Academy. We are honored to represent the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council, or SAC for short. Our council brings together juniors and seniors from across the district to share student perspectives on key CCSD issues. First off, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on behalf of our peers. Over the past 8 months, we met monthly to discuss topics that are important to our school communities. We asked meaningful questions and offered ways to improve the district for students and staff alike. We are especially proud of the growth in SAC membership. This year, administrators were encouraged to nominate students outside of traditional student council roles. Students eager to serve and represent their classmates and schools. As a result, we've seen representation grow from 26 schools from 2 years ago to now 52 schools this year, doubling our reach. We also welcome 11th and 12th graders more than ever before, which brings a greater range of perspectives and ideas to our work. We are very excited for the future of SAC and are proud to continue building a legacy in a community where every student voice matters. For the record, this is Ramon Moreno. During this summer, SAC members submitted written applications outlining the issues they were passionate about. These responses shaped our council's focus and guided our monthly meeting agendas. After much discussion this year, we identified 2 critical areas we would like to talk to you about today: proactive safety and emergency management, and student support services.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert. Good afternoon. My name is Salali Gomez, and I am a senior from Chaparral High School. In September, ESSAC explored proactive safety and emergency management in our schools. We heard from the CCSD Police Department, the K-9 Unit, and the Department of School Safety and Emergency Management. We learned about the roles of mobile phone pouches in creating secure learning spaces and gained insight on how communication between students and administrators can improve school safety. We know students must feel safe in order to learn effectively. During our discussion, we raised concerns about how current emergency procedures are communicated, especially for events that happen during non-classroom times like lunch and passing periods. While drills during class is common, many of us shared that we are uncertain of what to do if something happens outside of the classroom. We also discussed the positive impacts of safety, therapy dogs, and roles of staff training, creating safe, welcoming campuses. We recognize that the current CCSD strategies, like closed campuses, random searches, and staff drug awareness training, are important parts of maintaining school safety. Based on these conversations, we respectfully recommend that CCSD create or revise safety videos to be distributed to all schools and shown in classrooms twice a year, once at the beginning of each semester. The video should cover fire drills, lockdowns, evacuation routes, and emergency responses, particularly for non-traditional times, such as lunch, passing periods, or before and after school. CCSD requires that a safety video be shown to staff each year, but one is not required for students to watch, ensuring we know what to do during an emergency. We recommend tailoring content. For example, for younger students, we should have age-appropriate and interactive videos covering times like recess. For middle school and high school students, we should receive more detailed guidance, including directions regarding passing periods. This uniform district-wide approach would help students feel better prepared, more confident, and more informed during emergencies. Thank you for considering this recommendation.
Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent Ebert, for the record, this is Cameron Scanson, and I'm a senior from Advanced Technologies Academy. During our time on the SSAC, we also learned about the vital role CCSD school social workers and mental health professionals play in supporting students. They assist with suicide protocols, serve as liaisons between schools and communities, and provide direct support to students, family, and staff. However, we were deeply concerned to learn that 253 CCSD schools do not currently have a school social worker. That leaves one social worker for every 1,593 students, while the national average is one for every 250. We believe school mental health professionals are critical to student mental health engagement and attendance. Their role in drug prevention and intervention is also essential. Yet, many of our peers feel they lack access to this support on their school campus. So we asked ourselves, how can we ensure all CCSD school workers, social workers, and mental health professionals understand and respond to student needs, especially on campuses where no social worker is assigned? To address this, we recommend forming a CCSD student support working group, a council made up of students and CCSD mental health professionals. This group would meet quarterly and offer a consistent platform for student feedback on mental health and support services. We envision the working group including up to 10 CCSD staff or administrators, 20 CCSD school social workers and mental health professionals, and 25 students selected via application with emphasis on interest in mental health or drug prevention. Each high school could nominate one student, one administrator, and one school mental health professional to apply. Virtual and in-person meeting options would also ensure participation from rural communities. One of the most important topics addressed over the last year in SSAC has been the importance of mental health professionals and resources for all students. This working group would work over the next year to provide concrete recommendations and a final report to the Student Services Division, the Superintendent, and the Board of School Trustees on the gaps identified, the experiences shared, and the solutions developed.
Members of the Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, this is Ramon Moreno. Our two recommendations, creating a safety video and forming a support working group, share a common theme: communication. As students, we need CCSD, our student body, to develop a stronger, more communicative relationship. Students and district leaders must work together to build trust and transparency, because trust and transparency are needed to create a safer and more supportive for schools. This responsibility doesn't fall on just one group. It belongs to all of us, students, staff, and leadership. By working together to create clear strategies, we can make sure our schools are places where everyone feels secured and supported. For the record, this is Ramon Moreno. Improving safety and student support has a wide-reaching effects. It strengthens relationships, reduces school absenteeism, emphasizes school culture, and supports social and emotional learning. These aren't just ideas, these are investments in our future. Students, many of whom may never know our names, but will benefit from the changes we choose to make today. For record, this is Ramon Moreno. In our closing, we'd like to thank Superintendent Ebert, Todd Story, Dr. Keating, Ms. Rodman, Mr. Balant, and to our peers from the 2024-25 SAC for their support. And not only to share our stories, but also our solutions. We hope more students will be inspired to raise their voices and work to improve our schools. Thank you for your time, thank you for your patience, and thank you for your ears. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes. So just want to remind the audience and the trustees, this is not an action item, but it does, we can ask questions as a team. So Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not sure that I have a clock on here. I don't know if that means anything, but I will continue on. Thank you so much for coming. I know sometimes it can be a little nerve-wracking to come to all of us, 11 of us, and I appreciate that. I enjoyed coming and seeing you guys and meeting with you during these councils. I do want to point out for page 7, and maybe this is for my superintendent here, the annual safety video I think is a great idea. I think that knowing, kind of having an understanding of where we need to be when you're before school, after school, or during lunch. And if I could have an ask if we could add traffic safety onto that, I think it'd be very important to add that to this video. So thank you so much for presenting, and great job, guys.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora.
Thank you, Madam President. The safety videos, really good idea, 2 times a week. We always hear here on the day is that you have to get information 3 times to be able to retain it. But I also know the youth. What are your personal suggestions for during this video that you think other students will retain the information? Like, what are some ideas you might have for that? That's not a pop quiz, because I don't think.
I feel like trying to connect to the youth, so maybe adding a catchy slogan or adding like some type of imagery to it for them to tie to it would be very great and a good idea to use for the video.
And if I could also add to that, part of our recommendation that we discussed would make it a lot more impactful for the people that it serves is by tailoring it to the different levels of school, considering we have different things that we're even dealing with within the video itself, but also different attention spans and different things that are going to keep us engaged. So for elementary students, gearing it to a more elementary diction level almost, and then also pertaining to specific situations that would be more prevalent to the elementary students, like recess. We don't have that at the middle school and high school level. And then for the middle school and high school level, like Sitlali said, something more relevant to them as well might be able to make more of an impact.
Thank you.
And then what I would add is a big thing is tone, because even though it is important, you also don't want to scare the students. So I think a big part is tone, and also a matter of who does it, whether that be either a student or a staff member. It's also a big play into that is tone.
Thank you for that, because that was a follow-up. Do you think that it would be strategic for the middle or high school level for it to come from your own peers? And I definitely imagine the elementary being some cartoon. I don't know, Vegas PBS, Elmo.
I think that it would be a good idea, like how Ramon said, to have it by peers. I do find it easier, like as in student council, it's easier for me to like go out and tell other students to do something or to join in on something rather than a teacher asking somebody to do something or to join something. So I do think that having a fellow student or a younger student do the video or be the one that is announcing the stuff, I think it would be very useful.
Thank you.
Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And no offense to our amazing CCSD staff, but this is probably my favorite presentation of the entire year. So I thank all of you. Amazing. I cannot say that enough. A few of us were able to attend your senior night, your awards, not too long ago. And so I just want to say, Ramon, Solani, and Cameron, we heard you loud and clear at that event about you want more regular interactions with our leaders, with our superintendent, with our trustees. And you also talked about sometimes where you just didn't have enough time to even interact with one another. And so you came up with some really good suggestions at that time on maybe changing up the structure of your meetings. I gave you a little bit of background about how we used to meet like at a different school every year instead of at the same place all the time. People had different ideas about that. And also maybe having additional, as our student Kelsey here, our additional, that's so great, that's so great. I told her to enjoy it while she can. But that, you know, to maybe change up the structure, a couple of you brought that up about how things were presented. Your safety video and your working group, those are things that really can happen. And I know that our superintendent and her staff are really listening hard to what you're saying tonight. I have one specific question having to do with your big surprise. Mental well-being and a strong sense of belonging are essential for promoting student engagement and improving attendance. You know, we hear that a lot from a lot of people, but your student voices are the most important. What do you think, and it doesn't, whoever wants to answer, what do you think overall, what could be one small thing at each of your schools that we can do for a better sense of belonging? Again, not a pop quiz. Sorry. Ramon's going to go first.
So for general well-being or to make students feel more welcomed, I would definitely say, of course, tone is a big player. But I would also say agenda and letting it flow, letting it happen, because you don't want to create an event and then force the students to do it. Because personally, from CSN High School East Campus, we're all very busy. We all have different schedules, so not all of us can make it. So for us, prioritizing our time plays a very big role. But with how small our school is, we really do need student engagement and student interactiveness. But since our schedules are very different, we need that time. So every Friday, we have an hour called lunch, and usually our StuCo creates events, and it's every month. And whatever they do is usually music, games, and just personalizing it to us and whatever we're into for that month. Like, for example, if it was February, it was for Valentine's Day. It was just, even if you didn't have Valentine's, it's okay, but it's just celebrating that you're still appreciated and loved from your environment. That's a big thing that I would say.
I didn't know if the other ones were going to go ahead.
Yeah. So for the record, this is Cameron Scanson. Like Ramon said, I think that well-being at your school is and belonging at your school is a very important part of high school life and just student life in general. But I also think that there are two real levels of belonging that we look at within CCSD, which is at our school and then with the district overall. And so as someone, I'm the daughter of a teacher, and then I'm also the daughter of a CCSD employee. So I feel like I have a really big sense of belonging within CCSD just because I have those access points. But something that our council identified as an overall theme for the entire year to increase belonging within the district itself is an increase in communication. We discussed a lot of different topics, and these are just the top two that we were able to bring to you, but we had a lot of them, and the theme for all of them was better communication between our leaders, like the trustees mentioned, and the students at our schools. And that also involves the staff at our schools, the administrators at our schools, but making sure that there are more venues for communication between everyday students like us who might not have the opportunity to talk to you guys every day, and the CCSD school board, the people who are at CCSD headquarters. All of that is a really important step in making sure that we feel ourselves reflected at CCSD.
Thank you. Mr. Waller?
Just the same thing as Cameron. Our main focus of this whole this whole SAC board was mostly communication amongst students, admin, and our leadership in CCSD. And I would like to see more of it amongst our schools and everything. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, and would love to see you guys more often. I'm looking at the superintendent. Love to see you guys more often. Thank you so much for your presentation and your answers.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Straffigan?
Amazing. Thank you. So it just really fills my cup, I think, to hear from the leaders in this space. And we have been there many times, some of us, so thank you for indulging us. And I want to echo, it's almost like Trustee Cavazos, you took the question, but I'm good with it, because I'm going to follow up with what you planted a seed. A lot of what I heard when I was there many times, I think I maybe went 4 times, was that you wanted a sense of community, right? And you were expressing not just amongst yourselves, but like having a sense of, say, here. And what I said was, like, I remember back in the day when students came to board meetings every month. And, like, why are we waiting till the end of the year? And I want to give a shout out to our previous presenters. They're in the back of the room because their idea came to fruition where the security ID badges now have resources on the back. And what a small act can impact, right? And be systemically far-reaching. So I'm actually going to say that I did have and do a small act. I picked up the phone and talked with our superintendent. So I'm going to kind of toss it to her because she comes from a wealth of being in another space on the State Board of Education where they had a student representative. So if I could toss the ball to her and maybe she can share some thoughts.
Okay, Madam President.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, first and foremost, you are so very impressive, and I can't wait until you cross the stage in your graduation caps and gowns and get your diploma and then go on into the future, and thank you for being here. With that being said, as Trustee Esparza-Straffigan noted, the board previously did have students every month, 2 students from different high schools come and report. So that is something that the board may want to consider. I will tell you internally, and I think I do know all of the people at the dais saw my presentation for my desire to become the superintendent of the Clark County School District. And in part of that, student voice is very important to me. Actually, I know it's very important to a lot of the adults in the room here and the staff. But what we learned from the pandemic is not only the pandemic, but also technology and everything that you do each and every day is not the classroom or the context that when I went to school. It is completely different. The only one that can answer what the current learning environment should be is you, right? And so student voice, creating that space, we have the Nevada Portrait of a Learner, which we did have students from across the entire state participate and develop. It wasn't developed by the Department of Education. It was developed by the entire state and community, and student voice was a big part of that. And so moving forward, we'll definitely be creating more space where all of us, the team here, there's many adults in the room that want to make sure that they're lifted up, and they know they're all ready for it. I was in a meeting today and asked, where's our student? We were talking about the structure of, how to support students. And so, yes, on all of that. And we know that we see you, we hear you, and we want to be engaged with you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Trustee Satori?
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for your presentation. You just did a fantastic job. I really appreciate that you brought forth legitimate, important concerns that you see, across all of your schools and communities, and not only brought important problems, but real solutions that we really can put in place. You even thought through the logistics of, a lot of the details and stuff. So I really appreciate that your solutions really can be put in place very quickly. So thank you. I mean, the video idea for students is just such a fantastic idea. Yes, like you said, we do it for our staff and our teachers, but why aren't we sending the same message to our students? We know, we know some teachers are delivering that. We don't know how well. We don't know if they are or not. not, but getting that consistent message out. And I had the same thought as well, as I think it should maybe come from students. That was one of my questions I was going to ask. I think it would be best delivered by students. One question I wanted to ask, though, you're talking about the numbers and the size over the years. Do you see that it should continue, in your, just kind of in your opinion, to get larger, or are you kind of at a sweet spot where you want to be able to still be able to connect and get to know one another and communicate? Like, how do you see on the size of where it should head?
I want it all, simply, because I think everyone should have a say.
Excellent.
And I think that it's really important for not, because I've been to 10 schools, like minus kindergarten and all that, but it's technically 9. But I would definitely say I want everybody to be involved, because at the end of the day, school is a home away from home, and that's how it should be. And right now, at CSN High School, that's how it is for me. And if I can get all high schools in the district involved, I would.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely, appreciate that. And my second question would be, what advice would you give to an incoming representative on just how to make the most of this experience? And maybe what, if you'd have known something going into it, I would have done that from the beginning.
I'd say to them to definitely go for it, be more talkative, say what you have to say, because that board is to hear you and hear your voice as a student and what you have to say and what your opinions are at your school, because it really does matter. A lot of the times in our board meetings, we'll have students be like, oh, that doesn't work for me, or why do we do that? It doesn't work for my school. But then the next person that will say something, they're like, that works for my school perfectly. Like, that's exactly what we needed at my school. And so I think it's a perfect way of hearing everybody's voices and hearing everybody. And I think being more talkative and communicating, getting yourself out there is really important. As well as signing up to speak right now today. I feel like definitely sign up for it. I did it not thinking I would get chosen, and here I am today. So, yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the time to get involved. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Trustee Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for recognizing me. I am impressed, but I am not surprised with this level of output. 30 years in the classroom, the last 26 as the advisor of the Hispanic Student Union. I saw literally young people, they turned a natural election one time. A national election got turned at my high school one time. So I am not surprised in the slightest as to what you're able to achieve. And I wanted to, again, I thought she was on the, yeah, you did a fantastic job. Yeah, no, hey, well, everyone looks younger and younger every year, so you'll have to, I guess my question is kind of like for the superintendent, and it pertains to them. I do know, last time I looked, I think that Desert Pines High School did have a media magnet, right? What is the capacity that we have to have the students actually produce this media? I'm talking something like on TikTok, podcast, something that would be district-wide. If you remember, please hold with me. A few years ago, we did have a district-wide magazine called Class Magazine that actually spotlighted every school. So I know in the past we have had district-wide, and district-sponsored. But number one, do we have the capacity for that? And number two, is that something that the students would be interested? I mean, again, as everyone said, it'd be one thing, Barone on a podcast, talking about mental health, student mental health. I'm way older than you guys, right? I can barely hold on to my own mental health. So I'm sure that's something that you would produce that would actually reach, and I'm not talking like Facebook, because that's only for old people like me, apparently, right? I don't even go on my Facebook anymore. But maybe something that would be like TikTok or I don't even, InstaChat or whatever it's called, right? Something. So do we have the capacity, and is that something that they want to do? And if it costs a few bucks, quite frankly, I think we could probably find some money somewhere, to re-engage our young people that would actually have a kind of like a very positive and a preventative. We would reap an opportunity cost way much more and higher in proportion than what we would be spending on it, somewhere else. Yeah, bigger voice.
Thank you, Trustee Barron. Superintendent?
Thank you. Yes, not only do we have the capacity within multiple high schools, but also middle schools, and we have elementary students that also produce shows every single day. So it's not in 100% of our schools, but the majority of our schools do have broadcast capability as well as producing video. And I really love the idea that our students came up with is having the elementary students, right? We would help them with the script, obviously, to make sure that the content is there, but having them produce is a phenomenal idea, and yes, we do have the capacity.
Thank you for that. Yeah, they're shaking their head. Ramon, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I think a podcast would be a really good idea because me personally, I got a lot on my plate because I'm taking 10 classes this semester alone. So I would really love to get that opportunity to share not only my story, but also my lessons and experiences with handling that level of classes at CSM High School. Because there's 3 campuses, but we're not exactly given the opportunity to talk to each other a lot. But I'm sure we all have our own lessons to not only share within our own circle, but I also like to branch out to other high schools. So I'd really love the idea of a podcast.
Thank you.
To go with what you were saying about the social media thing, I think what we could do to further reach, like so the video could further reach more, we could possibly shorten the video, like the important segments of the video that he's already made, and upload that onto social media, like Instagram, TikTok, whatever that be, so that there could be still short forms of that video out on the media and not just on a long-term video.
Thank you. Cameron, did you want to add anything?
And then just one more thing that I was going to say, building off of that idea, is we would still recommend that you obviously keep the mandatory viewing at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, just to make sure that all students are getting it, since not all students have access to social media. But one thing that we did discuss was the reason that we chose for it to be twice a year is so that students, especially like high school students, don't get inundated with it to the point where they are annoyed by the information. So I believe by putting things on social media, that kind of puts it into a self-serve format where you can look at it when you need to and not when you feel forced to by your teachers. So,
thank you. Trustee Biasotti?
Thank you, Madam President. I had the opportunity to attend my first ever SDAC meeting and your last, and it was a great experience. I was impressed with your engagement skills, your informed input, your wonderful ideas. I wish you all the best of luck. If the future looks like all of you, we are in great shape. I also want to say thank you to the parents who supported their kids in keeping this commitment. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Stevens?
In 2022, Psychology Today polled a bunch of Americans, and 74% of them said that they would rather die than speak publicly. So the fact that you're up here doing what you're doing and doing it so well, by the way, thank you. Thank you for the hard work that you put into this, but thank you for your courage. It's not easy to come up here and do this. So great job. I do have a quick question for you. On page, what is this? Page 5. It says, what did we learn? And one of the bullet points you have on there is the rationale behind the use of the foam pouches. And so I'd love to hear from you guys what you learned about that and how you feel about it.
To be completely honest, during our meeting, I don't know if most would like to hear this, but during our meeting, we actually discussed about how some schools do find it useful and do use the foam pouches, but a lot of us did not like them, not only because it's just like annoying to most students, but because we found it a little bit useless, for the lack of a better word, just because a lot of the times our teachers do not enforce them. And it is not your guys' fault that the teachers don't use them, but it's just unnecessary. Most of us found it unnecessary since most do not even use it. I think somebody asked us during our meeting how like many students actually use them, and this was in the beginning of the school year in September, so most students did say yes, that they did use them, but a lot of our students found that they were like, oh yeah, no, it's only the beginning of the school year, next week my teachers aren't going to be using them. And unfortunately that was true. a lot of the classes in my school have like the phone pouches just ripped off or just like on the floor, not used. And it's not just my school, but a whole bunch of other schools that also do not use these phone pouches. And we kind of thought it was a waste of like resources and just a good idea. If anything, we're thinking that we can somehow implement it more mandatory for teachers to do it if we did want to keep this idea in use. However, we did find the idea of it very useful, and we found the concept of the phone pouches understandable of why you guys chose to do that. We just found that it wasn't used.
So the concept was good, you liked it, but implementation wasn't great, and
Yes.
so it didn't work so well for you guys. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Just to add to that, it's not because if I had to like summarize it to explain it, it's that it felt like a blow to our maturity, like how we're viewed not only because by the time we're seniors, I feel like some of us are mature, but I understand there are a few who don't realize the value or don't see in it. Personally, I'm not on my phone 24 hours a day, but I understand. But given at the school and the environment I'm at, there's advanced students, I get that. But other high schools, I understand they need that, and sometimes they do need to enforce it. So I'm in neutral about it. I don't disagree. I don't hate it, but I understand it. And I think that's what's most important.
Very smart, Ramon, neutral.
Yes. Before Cameron answers this question, I also agree. I understand why they are implemented. Coming from a student that had recently joined, like these past school years, had recently joined AP and honors classes, like coming from a regular class to an AP class, it's very understandable why you guys would want to implement these phone pouches. But if there was a better way to better ensure that these teachers are actually using these phone pouches, it would be very helpful to our classrooms. Thank you.
And then, Cameron Skansen, for the record, just one more thing. I might be in the minority here, but I liked the phone pouches. I do agree with what my colleagues said about the implementation, but I will say, like, I believe that part of our responsibility as the representative for SAC is to communicate the common understanding and the common feeling of it, and the common feeling of it was not positive from what we discussed at our meetings. However, I liked it, so.
Thank you. Trustee Johnson?
Yeah, thanks again for all the hard work. It's always good to see this work. So I don't know if you've got this recommendation before, but maybe you should consider being consultants, right? Like McKinsey, Deloitte, they pay lots of money for people to come in, diagnose problems, and give recommendations, and then you get to walk away. So just a quick career guidance. But I appreciate the data you showed about the way that we've grown the number of schools that have been in it. And for me, I would love to hear from the three of you a couple things, just two things in particular. One, just like the best part of your experience and like what that was. One thing you changed, and the reason why I'm asking that is my hope is that as you're able to share that aloud, like our school leaders will hear it and they'll think about how they want to get the rest of the high schools involved in this, because you'll be able to share what those parts were. So the best part of your experience, and then one thing you think you'd like to improve upon for this experience.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, this is Solali Gomez for the record. One of the best things that I've gained from this council is the concept of this council, if I'm being completely honest. As soon as I heard about this council, I was so amazed and so, like, proud of myself for being nominated into this council, but I was also just amazed by the idea of this, that we as students are actually involved in a council that is like heard directly to you guys. And we even have an opportunity to present in front of this board. And personally, I can't speak for everybody because not everyone is here, but one of the best things that has come out of this is to be here sitting in front of you guys, talking to you guys, being able to get this opportunity to even talk to you guys and communicate to you guys. So yeah, I think my favorite part of being on this board was being on the board. And something that I think could be improved on is something that we mentioned at our awards night, which is just finding a better way to communicate amongst ourselves as students, to get more communication and just to more of an understanding of what happens at every school, and just building relationships amongst our community. Yes.
And then this is Cameron Scanson for the record. The best part about SAC for me was, I would say, finding solidarity and community. We discussed this a lot, how SAC is one of the only venues in CCSD for students from a bunch of different schools to come together and talk about pressing issues. We have clubs and extracurriculars where students get together to compete or to socialize, but we have very few venues where students come together to talk about the state of our district and the state of our schools. So I thought that was a very, very important part of the council and very important to me. I really enjoyed the experience of discussing what we were going to bring to the board. It was really awesome to hear about all the different people who shared my perspective and thought that it was really important that we have more resources for social workers and more mental health resources and more communication resources. So that was a really great part. Additionally, one more awesome thing was this year we made sure that we expanded SSAC so that it included not only student body presidents, which was kind of the custom before this year, and we expanded it so that, not we, the people in charge, but the expanded it so that there was an extra member who was not as engaged with schools. So administrators were encouraged to select a student who wasn't in student council or wasn't as engaged in the school culture so that they had a thought and they had a voice on the council. And I thought that was a really great inclusion that should continue in coming years. As for what I think could be improved, I do believe that there could be an improvement in the format. A lot of the times at the meetings, it is a good hour and 45 minutes of wonderful, amazing professionals who are specialists in their field coming to talk to us about what our subject is for the day, and that is an amazing bit of information that we need. However, oftentimes that leaves us with 10 minutes to discuss our thoughts, and when this is a council made up of students where we're supposed to be sharing our thoughts, I think that there should be a lot more room and maybe just a reformat for it to be more like a discussion with students. Maybe that means taking minimizing the amount of people involved. Maybe that means changing the way that we run the meetings, but just more of a discussion format so that we can make sure that students are more involved and make it a little bit more discussion based.
For the record, this is Ramon Moreno. Can you repeat your original question so I can have that noted? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know what was the best part of your experience, and then one thing you would improve upon.
Okay. So, a reminder, but unfortunately, I will have to leave this meeting early because I do have senior sunset, and I don't want to miss that, but I want to answer your question to the best of my ability. One thing that most of the information that was presented, I already knew from my amazing counselor, Ms. Purcell. However, it wasn't that I still appreciated it, but to me, this SSAC, I almost did not join. Like, I literally almost did not fill out the application because I was being lazy. That was a big thing. However, I'm proud that I was able to prove to myself that I can still make a difference in the SSAC because I have lots of little cousins who are still in the district and are still going through school, and they look at me as a role model. And I don't look at myself that way because I don't like to put myself up there, but I really am proud of myself. But to me, SSAC was more about proving that I can do it and I can light the way for them. And just seeing that there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way, and you can do it. And it just sits so close to home to me that I can show them that. That's what made me more proud. And then it's just honestly, I'm just proud of myself and just proud of the people who helped me because I had to switch schools a lot because of bad financial reasons. But regardless of all that, of everything that happened when I was a kid and all that, but I still made it this far, and that's one thing that I'm so proud of myself. And I'm also proud of my parents. But yeah. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Trustee Henry?
All right. Enjoy your senior sunset. And thank you so Sunset. All right. And thank you so much for your presentation. Just really quickly, I know I wanted to go back to your presentation, and you all spoke about social workers on campus. Social workers and those safe school professionals, they play a vital role in our schools. You mentioned that there were that students expressed concerns regarding the lack of support. Do you have any stories or anything you would like to share, or how social workers have impacted even you or other students?
Yeah, so at my school is lucky enough to have a social worker delegated to us. However, I've been in high school for 4 years. We've had a different social worker every 4 years. And my school is one that really needs those resources. And so I've seen firsthand the effects of, I guess, a lack of help there, because there's a social worker who's trying to be helpful there, but it's also their first year and there's a really high turnover rate. So that's part of our recommendations to make this working group and this council, not so that we can make sure that every single school gets a social worker right now, because that's not a super attainable goal, but to make sure that there are more resources out there for the schools that don't have a social worker currently allotted to them. So on this board, there would be students from across the district, and a lot of those students could come from schools where there aren't necessarily social workers. So with that, they would be able to bring those resources back to their school. So if it was a school like my school where they had a social worker who was trying to adjust, or they didn't have a social worker for that point in time, they would be able to bring the resources back and discuss. And that could be the staff bringing it back, that could be the administration bringing it back, or that could be the students on the board bringing it back.
Thank you. Just as Cameron said, our presentation wasn't so that we can have a social worker at every single school in the district right now. As Cameron said, it's not a really attainable goal currently. It's more as to talk about it and have that put out there instead of it being tabled and just, oh yeah, like there's no social workers at any school and that's it. The point is to have a conversation about it and to keep that conversation going and keep it moving on. Coming from a Title I school, I've also firsthand seen the lack of help from social workers amongst my own friends and people that I've met these past 4 years of life, of high school, as well as middle school. I've seen a lot of students that I grew up with the lack of a social worker helper. And they're struggling most of their high school career, most of them like dropping out or even worse happening to them. So I think having this social group able to help students and able to spread community and just a lot of resources to students that need it is a very necessary thing that we need in our county.
Thank you so much. Trustee Barron, would you like to close this out?
Yeah, I also, I guess part of it was I also wanted to just give a shout out to you because, again, you highlighted something that's it's a huge deficit for us, not having enough mental health professionals, to go around. I was very, very fortunate in that my boss was a former peer, Ms. Darlene Delgado, so if she's out there, hey, this is a big shout out to you. After we came back from the pandemic, she found, I don't know, I'm not sure how she did it. I just let her run her school with me in it. She was the boss. I just did whatever she said. But she found the money and carved it out of our budget somehow to have 2 social workers, but they were actually licensed. Licensed therapists, right? And then 3 within a couple of years. And I just, I saw the change, we saw the need, and so I guess there is a way to do it. If you have someone who's experienced and creative, and she has a good team. There was actually one of the team members of that staff right here in the audience, right? And so if you have an experienced team who can actually make things happen, right, and it can happen. So perhaps that's a little bit something for us to maybe expect to promote these kind of ideas. And if we have a superintendent that can find the way, I'm sure we have the right person now. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Story, anything to close this out, or Ms. Rodman?
Madam President, Trustees, Superintendent Ebert, no. Todd Story, for the record, I don't think that there's anything else that we could add that could put a finer point on what we've heard tonight.
Okay, on behalf of the team, we just want to express our gratitude. Thank you for being here, and your colleagues as well. We're going to give you a round of applause. Okay, we're going to, Trustee Cavazos.
I just wanted to add, I wanted to thank the family engagement staff. I think they're in the audience, and of course, Kelsey, right here, for working with our students and doing such a great job of guiding them and helping them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're now going to go ahead and transition to our legislative update 3.02. This is not an action item.
Madam President, members of the board, for the record, my name is Todd Story, Chief Communications Officer for the Clark County School District. And tonight, to provide our legislative update, we are joined again by Dr. Brad Keating, Assistant Superintendent of Community Partnerships and Government Relations, who is joining us virtually from Carson City, and he will give us the report tonight. Thank you.
Good afternoon, trustees. Brad Keating for the record. Excited to be with you all virtually, and congrats to the amazing kiddos who just spoke. I have the unfortunate pleasure of having to go after all of those smart students. But today is day 99 of the legislative session, not that anyone is counting, of the 120-day session. So we are getting close as we move forward. Since our last update to the board, budget closings have begun. So today and yesterday, the joint subcommittee on K-12 of the Finance and Ways and Means Committees met to close the Pupil-Centered Funding Plan and the Education Stabilization budgets. The next major deadline to inform you of is going to be May 16th. So next week, as I've talked to you all before, we focused and we talked about first House passage and first committee passage and all that fun stuff. So May 16th is when all bills have to pass out of their second House committee. So it was a bill was heard in the Assembly Committee on Education, moved to the full floor of the Assembly, and now by May 16th, the bill has to be heard and passed out of the Senate Committee on Education, as an example. We are fortunate our bill, Assembly Bill 48, did clear that hurdle yesterday, about a week before deadline, by passing unanimously out of the Senate Education Committee onto the so that goes to the full Senate, and that's the last stop before heading to the governor's desk. Majority Leader Canizaro's education bill, Senate Bill 460, is currently scheduled to be heard next Wednesday. We're still waiting for the governor's education bill to be introduced. Floor sessions have been canceled tomorrow, so we would anticipate seeing the governor's bill early next week. We've been engaging with stakeholders on Majority Leader Canizaro's bill. We'll continue to working to understand her intent and how that intent and the law will impact the district. For public's knowledge, the Economic Forum convened last week to update revenue projections for the upcoming biennium, which is the 2-year budget for the future here of the state. There was a projected $191 million decrease in state revenue, which was less severe than the worst case scenarios previously anticipated. Still a significant reduction to the budget moving forward. Additionally, the local school support tax revenues through the state education fund are expected to decline by $160 million compared to the previous biennium. So these budget committees are working very hard to determine how to ensure the state is kept whole as we move forward. So today, earlier today, the joint subcommittee of Ways and Means and Senate Finance on K-12 education provided its recommendations, which will be presented to the full joint Ways and Means and Senate Finance committees tomorrow. After the full joint meeting occurs tomorrow, we'll have a much better idea of what funding will look like over the next 2 years in the Clark County School District. After that meeting, the Legislative Council Bureau will take those decisions made tomorrow and work over the weekend to create the K-12 funding bill. And that funding bill has to be completed next week. That bill will then be voted on by the entire legislature. So a lot of moving parts right now. On budget-wise, we'll have a lot more answers tomorrow by the full Joint Ways and Means and Senate Finance Committee will be able to share with you. And again, we anticipate next week that K-12 funding bill coming out to truly know what the impact will be to the Clark County School District. So I wanted to just focus on the budget and giving you an insight into what it looks like up here and the next steps over the coming days. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Straffigan.
Thank you, Dr. Keating. I really appreciate the sheets that you provide for us because there's so many things happening at the same time. So I want to go into the weeds of it since it is Teacher Appreciation Week. If we look at SB 90, I believe the sponsor of the bill is Marilyn Dondero Loop. It talks about appropriation for provisions of grants to organizations to provide certain supplies and materials to teachers for instructional supports. Do you know what's the status of that? Maybe what's the allocation? Because I know teachers did benefit from that last year, and what are kind of the details on that one?
Thank you for the question, Brad Keating for the record. Senate Bill 90 is an appropriation of $15 million over the 2-year period. It would be so $7.5 million in each of the fiscal years. We have worked, and Superintendent Ebert knows more than anybody about this, but the state has worked very closely with an organization, Donors Choose, to allow teachers to be able to go through and purchase items that they need in their classrooms, up to $500 per individual teacher or specialized instructional personnel. So that bill is still on the table. Nothing's moved forward. We are just starting to give you a picture, I guess, on the budget. We are, as the legislature is truly looking to figure out how they close this building with a balanced budget. With that being said, I would anticipate there are probably 95% of bills, and there are over 350 of them right now in Ways and Means and Senate Finance. Probably 95% of those bills to die based on the dollar amounts as they currently stand. In conversations with Senator Dondero Loop and leadership, this is something that's incredibly important to them, and this has been a great success over the last few years. So I know that they want to continue it. The bill is still alive. It is still moving forward. There may be adjustments to lower the dollar amount, but this is certainly a priority to be able to give teachers the opportunity to buy what they need for their classrooms.
Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Keating, I really appreciate your the pre-briefing to this because it answers a lot of my questions. However, it seems like Carson City is just day to day moving so quickly. So I was hoping to get an update on AB 533. It was for the school zoning choice, I believe. So I was hoping to see if we had an update on that one.
Brad Keating for the record. Thank you, Trustee Dominguez. So Assembly Bill 533, you are correct. That's an open enrollment bill. Perfect timing that you would ask that question, as I had a meeting from 2 to 3 p.m. today about that very bill. We are working collaboratively with State Superintendent, Interim State Superintendent Canavero, Washoe County School District, and Assembly Member Torres, and Opportunity 180 to come to a resolution on that bill. There should be in the next probably 2 to 3 days an amended version of that bill. That bill had a number of prescriptive requirements put into that bill. Most of the things that we already do, and we've talked about this before, but what it appears to be looking towards is that the State Department of Education will prescribe what a model open enrollment plan would be. And here are the things that should be potentially included in a model open enrollment plan. And they'll look at plans from across the country. At that point, school districts, because each one of us is different, every school district will have the opportunity to create its own plan and submit that to the State Board of Education and then move forward with their plan. So it's really keeping local control and allowing you all as a board and the district to decide how is the best way to allow open enrollment at our schools. Every school will be different. Every district will be different. So that's what we're moving towards. And I would anticipate, like I said, early next week, we'll see that amendment, and that bill should move forward pretty quickly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Trustee Biassadi.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Keating, I had a question. You did mention 95% of the bills were expected to die. Does that include AB 416, or what is the update on that? Has it left committee? Is it still being heard in the Senate?
Thank you for the question. Brad Keating for the record. I'm pulling it because my 95% is not scientific in any way, shape, or form, but I want to give you a 100% answer on this question. So 416 is it is an exempt bill, so it has not moved forward. Any of these bills that are exempt can continue through the rest of the session, but it hasn't had a vote in any committee. So when we talk about and let me just state this. I mean, we've seen bills, and State Superintendent has certainly, or Superintendent Ebert, sorry, has definitely seen this. Bills move in 1 or 2 days across every committee. But to give you an idea of this bill, for instance, and it might be any other bill, this bill has not received has not moved at all out of onto the floor. So it would have to go from the floor of the assembly to then be heard in a committee, to then be approved by that committee, to then go to a final Senate vote. So that could happen very quickly at any given time, but that bill and a number of bills are just sitting exempted right now as they figure out kind of the end game of the session. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
It does. Thank you so much for the update.
Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Keating, I only had one question, believe it or not, today, and that's on AB 217, revising the provisions relating to law enforcement on school property. I lost my tracking on that, so could you update us on that, please?
Thank you for the question, Brad Keating, for the record. So AB 217, that is Assembly Member Cecilia Gonzalez's bill.
Right.
So that bill was heard just the other day in Senate Judiciary. So it passed the Assembly floor. It was heard in Senate Judiciary. We don't have any, the districts don't have any issues with how it's been amended. So I do anticipate, and I met with the chair of Senate Judiciary, I anticipate that being a work session probably Monday or early next week, and that bill will continue moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Trustee Zamora.
Thank you, Madam President. I have one question about AB 420, Do you know if there's a fiscal note to that?
Brad Keating, for the record, that's Assemblymember Cecilia Gonzalez's other bill. There is no fiscal note on that bill. That is the bill for the use of force reports, I believe.
She's shaking her head, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you for the assist, Trustee Zamora. There are no fiscal notes on that bill at all by the state or the local government. And the school CCSD PD have agreed, and we've worked closely with those stakeholders yesterday and today, for that matter, to make sure that we're fine with the reporting on that bill every year for use of force.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Keating, Mr. Story, I think that ends. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Mr. Story? Nope, he's shaking her head. Okay, Dr. Keating, thank you so much for calling in. It has been such a tremendous change this year regarding our involvement in the legislature, and we appreciate it as a team. We're going to go ahead and move to item 4.01, board reports and updates. We have a Focus 2024 strategic plan update on chronic absenteeism. And so, Mr. McPartland, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert. Kevin McPartland, for the record, Associate Superintendent. I'm joined by Danielle Jones, our Director of Chronic Absenteeism and Attendance Enforcement. I did want to clarify for Trustee Barone, in case you were looking at us, I am not a student. To save us an awkward moment, I just wanted to be clear. Potentially. So this is the, there it is, sorry. This is the regular Focus 2024 strategic plan report on chronic absenteeism, which we will cover our efforts and results through the third quarter of this school year. As a reminder, chronic absenteeism is the state's measure of student engagement. A student is considered chronically absent when they are absent more than 10% of enrolled days. This metric does include excused and unexcused absences. These chronic absenteeism presentations contribute to the vision of the Board of School Trustees under the school student success priority and within the areas of safety and engagement. As part of the Focus 2024 strategic plan, we have presented chronic absenteeism updates multiple times starting in 2019, with the last presentation being provided to you in February of 2025. As you will see, we are continuing to see positive outcomes related to chronic absenteeism. We are maintaining our theory of action, which is that if we work with multiple agencies and district departments, and if we provide high-quality Tier 1 instruction and MTS supports with effective monitoring tools, then chronic absenteeism will decrease. Our strategies to combat chronic absenteeism are aligned with our theory of action and include our comprehensive data dashboard, which is used by schools and central offices to guide our efforts to support students and families. We also continue to increase and refine our partnerships, both internally and externally in the community, to wrap our students and families with the supports they need to remove obstacles to positive attendance. Madam President, with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Jones, who eats, sleeps, and breathes chronic absenteeism.
That's right. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, Danielle Jones for the record. Looking at this slide, we are seeing our chronic absenteeism rate reduced from 30.9% at the end of the year last year to 27.7% at the end of third quarter this year. So that's a 3.2% reduction. Chronic absenteeism has continued to decrease in all student groups. On this slide, as you've seen before, the slide demonstrates chronic absenteeism rates compared to the expired targets that were set prior to COVID and Focus 2024 strategic plan. Because the targets have expired, we will instead compare this year's third quarter data to chronic absenteeism rates at the end of third quarter last year, and we've actually added that column so you can see those comparisons. So overall, chronic absenteeism was at 30.3% at the end of third quarter last year. Our overall current rate is 27.7%, which represents a 2.6% decrease. Now we're comparing third quarter data last year to third quarter data this year, and the chronic absenteeism rate has decreased for all student groups, highlighted by a 7.3% reduction for American Indian, Alaskan Native student group, 3.9% reduction for Black African American student group, 3.7% reduction for students eligible for special education, a 3% reduction for English language learner student group, and 2.9% reduction for Hispanic Latino student group. On this slide, you will see the gap between the highest student group's chronic absenteeism rate and the lowest was 25.4%. The current gap is 21.8%, which is a 3.6% reduction. So this slide is where we usually showcase our data compared to similar districts. Other districts have not updated their dashboards to include mid-year chronic absenteeism data. So we look forward to sharing with you at the end of the year presentation so we can actually demonstrate how our improvements compare. Our next slide is where we'll highlight our challenges, successes, and lessons learned over the past quarter since our last presentation. Our challenges: chronic absenteeism is a complex issue requiring a comprehensive strategy with targeted interventions, family engagement, and school-wide support. Another challenge is sometimes reaching parents and guardians may be difficult despite repeated outreach efforts. And students struggling with academic, social, and mental health issues are at higher risk of absenteeism, making engagement more difficult. However, our successes: we've done, at third quarter, 35,000 attendance home visits were conducted by district attendance officers, demonstrating strong intervention efforts and increased from the last school year at this time by 5,000 home visits. Another success is a measurable reduction in chronic absenteeism shows that targeted support systems are working, including school-based interventions and home visits. Our real-time attendance data allows schools to identify at-risk students quickly and intervene effectively. And another huge success is we're seeing families are more proactive in reporting absences by submitting notes to schools, and which allows for better support and solutions. Lessons learned: building strong relationships between students, families, and staff fosters a school environment that encourages regular attendance. Our community partnerships have been instrumental in addressing external factors that contribute to absenteeism. And we know early intervention is a key, starting in early grades. Addressing attendance issues will help with long-term absenteeism. And finally, with our next steps, we are continuing to reinforce our awareness of the Everyday Matters campaign, including the website, with up-to-date information. We're engaging students, families, and through our business partnerships. Our data dashboard and our home visit reports to schools are going to be used for more proactive measures for summer interventions. And we are identifying schools with increasing rates to help implement targeted interventions to address these issues. We're also going to continue that home visit information to principals, and they'll be identifying those students with high rates early on. And then finally, continue our student town halls to gather feedback, address challenges, and empower students to take ownership of their attendance. This concludes our presentation. We're happy to clarify any data points or answer questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I open it up to questions by the team, I did not ask if there was anyone that did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card for this item. Okay, seeing none, consider that closed. Then questions from the team, from the trustees? Trustee Cavazos. Oh, wait. Oh. We're all good. Thumbs up. Okay, thumbs up. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. Just thank you again for the presentation. Always very helpful. I'd love to be hearing about our successes and our continuing efforts. So on the home visits, are all of our, how many attendance officers do we have again? I'm sorry.
Trustee Cavazos, we currently have 30 attendance officers in the district.
Okay. And are all attendance officers doing home visits? Are there any that are just doing like phone calls, or are all of them active in doing home visits?
So our district level attendance officers are doing the home visits every single day. There are school-based attendance officers who may do different types of interventions that we don't track.
Okay, thank you so much. My only other question was I'm glad to hear that the parents are being more proactive in reporting the absences. What do you attribute that to? You know, what worked? I'd like to hear about our successes.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Cavazos. I think we started off strong with the school year with our trainings and our professional learning for administrators, and really focusing on that early communication to the families on what's expected, and actually streamlining the notes to be able to be submitted online, which made a huge difference. So I think that helped a lot.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all I had.
Thank you, Trustee Satori.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation and for all of your hard work in this area. So one question I had was, what others, talking about connect those community supports and such in my communications and meetings with Clark County, are there other areas of support that are needed or other outreach that, maybe I can help try to connect with?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Satori. So it's really difficult to say one broad answer because when we do our home visits, there's really a unique situation every home. I do think that the municipalities really helped us a lot by providing the resources they have in place already, which we equipped our officers with. They have QR codes they can give to the families at the door. Okay. So for right now, I know that, like the students said earlier, the mental health outreach, and I know a lot of families, without insurance or they're struggling in that way may or may not be able to get a mental health provider right away. So maybe systems like that where there's maybe walk-in clinics or something that our officers can be more aware of would be good to know. Okay, excellent. My other question, and that's good to know that your officers have that information on hand and are able to provide it and really save that time. That's fantastic. The QR code is fantastic. My other question, and you did touch on it at the end, was about those, with all of the home visits, which is amazing that many 35,000 home visits were conducted. That's fantastic. But I was just wondering about that continued follow-up over the summer, particularly with some of those families that are really in need, and you've built that relationship. What does that look like over the summertime? Thank you again, Trustee Satori. So every month, school principals get a report of what we have discovered at the door. So that empowers the schools to make their own communication and follow-up. We will go back to the homes over the summer and check on the kids who are chronically absent from this year. We're really going to focus on our incoming seniors because we know the rates are higher kindergarten and senior year. So we're going to do a welcome to our kindergartners too with our officers. The other things that we will be doing is empowering the schools with a list of students who are chronically absent for this year so they can do some interventions on their own to help kind of combat that early and provide some resources to families before the first day of school.
Excellent, thank you.
Trustee Biassadi.
Thank you, Madam President. Our lighthouse should always be data that reflects improvement, and for that reason, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Stroffigan.
So 3% out of 296,000 students, to do the math for that is, I think, a celebration. We've been having, and I would say since I've been here almost 2 years now, real deep dives into really what are the root causes. So I just want to say to the team, celebrate you and the leaders in the school and the teachers for really making that difference. So I have two questions. You kind of answered one of them because it was the early intervention. So I love that the transitioning, right? So talk to me from the elementary to middle, the middle to high. What does that vertical conversation look like? That's my one question.
Thank you, Trustee Esparza-Stroffigan. So last summer, we actually did do that. We went to transition. We went to see ninth graders. We went to see incoming sixth graders, just kind of a welcome. And here's to the parents, here's the attendance policies. We did that past summer. We're planning on doing that again. I think the conversation, especially when they get into those new grades, the students feel a little lost because it's brand new. And so we hope to offer that connection by sending the principals the outcomes to our visits. They have a start at the beginning of the year on how they can help those students the first day of school rather than wait till that trend begins again.
If I could just follow up on that as well, is with our principals, right? I think the principals, especially as they've evaluated what occurred during COVID and after, are really doing a great job of prioritizing those newcomer students to their school level. And so I think we see a lot more high school working down with eighth graders and middle school to fifth grader. I think it's really been emphasized at that level at the schools too.
Thank you. I do have a part two.
Yeah, I
we
thought
get
so.
two questions
I thought
each.
so.
We were told
Go
two
ahead.
each, and that's it. Okay. So I did review, and I told you in the briefing I would bring it up. So I did review some of our surplus, and one of the schools in the secondary level is losing an attendance officer. Like you mentioned, there's some schools that have their individual attendance officer. So what are we doing to ensure, especially at a high school, what kind of support centrally and also from those other officers so that we don't lose this momentum and those gaps are not lost?
Right. Thank you for the question, Trustee. So we know when a school gets an officer and when they lose an officer at the district level. So we get that HR email. And so what that triggers for us is now we're going to start servicing that school from day one. So there's not going to be any loss of service. We'll provide supports to those families just like we would anybody else when they lose their officer. So I don't anticipate any gaps really because we're really on top of that.
Trustee Barron.
Thank you, Madam President. I echo, of course, appreciation and congratulations for moving the needle there, which is very difficult. In terms of raw numbers, of course, our largest group are Hispanic Latino students. And of course, we see that the stats reflect the rest of the school district, about 3%. But given that we have so many Hispanic Latino students, is there anything that we're doing in particular to reach out to this family, to Latino families, to this group? Is there anything that you've been doing in particular, or is there anything that you could do, to better reach this really important demographic?
Thank you, Trustee Barone. So we're fortunate to have maybe half of our attendance officers who are bilingual. So we try to figure out which schools with higher populations who may need a Spanish speaker at the door, and we try to make sure we get that officer door. If we don't have one available, our dispatch is available to translate. So we're never going to not be able to service a family when necessary. And then the same thing goes for the schools. If they need some help from us, we're more than happy to come in and help give the information to the family. Because ultimately, I think when we have a gap in communication, that's where we see the issues with some absenteeism when the family doesn't have the information. So we want to help them in that way.
Thank you. I did have a part two. I'm so sorry. I've had some things expressed to me that there are certain schools where they have students who they've expressed fear of going to school for fear of deportations. Are we seeing that reflected in the stats, or is it too early to tell?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Trustee. So we did have one day where we saw a huge decrease, but there was an event that day that a lot of students participated. I believe it was in February. So that's where we saw the only decrease. We ask our officers frequently if they're hearing anything at the doors from our schools, and so far we have not seen any change in data. We have not heard anything from our school community that points to that impacting our chronic absenteeism rate.
Thank you. Trustee Johnson, would you like to close this out?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've talked about on a couple of occasions is how you all leverage student voice to be able to understand what's going to best motivate them. And it was part of the next slide is the one. So the student town hall. Have there been any lessons learned from those town halls that have influenced your actions moving forward?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Trustee Johnson. So yes and no. Is the town halls definitely inform and provide us with student voice on things like sense of belonging and safety and those things. Most of the things that come out of the student town halls are very site-specific, and so we support the schools to address it at their level to really, and it comes down to relationships, like it is clearly aligned when we're talking to students at specific schools. I think we talked about with Dr. Scavella the activity where, name the adult on this campus that is your go-to person and you can pass, and when we start seeing schools with pass, we see that it relates to the chronic absenteeism. So yes, we flush it out, we provide supports, but a lot of that is done with the staff at the school that address that.
I appreciate it. And then the other thing, on the previous slide 11, the very last bullet, it was really interesting to me. The attendance challenges often start in the early grades, making early intervention critical for preventing long-term absenteeism. Would you be able to just elaborate a little bit? Because I want to see if I can understand, what are some of the interventions we get to use, how that works, especially because early grade absenteeism, I would imagine, to some degree, is an adult issue, and then later grade is children issues. And so how we make those two connections across the grade spans.
Trustee Johnson, thank you for the question. So a part of our communication to our incoming kindergartners would be, the impact of, reading by grade 3, just giving the facts that's surrounding the absenteeism to the parents so they understand the broader picture and not just you need to come to school. And I think that's an important piece, is giving research and data to support what we're saying. And so that's our goal this summer, is trying to give that information to the families. And then we do empower the schools with the same information, so when they do their phone calls to those families, they can explain the same impact on academics and their future success in school too.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions from the trustees and seeing no one that completed a public speaker card for this item, I will entertain a motion to accept the report as presented. Trustee Barron.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the report as amended.
Thank you. I have a first. Trustee Biasotti.
I will second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes 6-0. Thank you once again for being intentional, the two of you and your team. We're going to go ahead and go to item 4.02, Focus 2024 Strategic Plan Update, Perceptions of Student Safety. Before I open the item, has everyone gotten a chance to complete a public speaker card? All right, I have one for this item. Seeing that, then I'll close that out, and I will turn it over to, is it Dr. Mansell? Or yes, to begin the presentation.
Dustin is fine as well. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Dustin Mansell, Chief Academic Officer. I am joined by Greg Manzi, our Assistant Superintendent of the Assessment, Accountability, Research, and School Improvement Division, and Kevin McPartlin, our Associate Superintendent of Education Services Division. Before you tonight is a presentation aligned to the District's Strategic Plan, Focus 2024, providing an update on the indicator perceptions of student safety. The indicator of perceptions of student safety contributes to the vision of the Board of School Trustees through the student success priority area, specifically safety and engagement. The student safety results were most recently presented in May of 2024. The measure of perceptions of student safety included in Focus 2024 is derived from 4 questions within the district-wide survey for students, as shown on the slide. 1, I sometimes stay home because I don't feel safe at this school. 2, students feel safe in this school. 3, the school has safety procedures that work. And 4, this school is safe. It is important to note that the first item, responding negatively, is the desired outcome. Therefore, responses to this question are reversed to calculate the measure of perceptions of student safety. The district-wide survey for students is administered on an annual basis, typically in the months of November and December. The most recent administration took place from October 28th, 2024 through December 20th, 2024. The district-wide survey for students is available in both English and Spanish. The current iteration of the survey is in its 9th consecutive year and was developed during the 2015-2016 school year in partnership with West Ed. The questions are from a combination of prior CCSD iterations of the survey, the University of Chicago Consortium on School Research, and the Nevada Department of Education. The full district-wide survey captures student perceptions in a variety of areas, including parent involvement, learning attitudes, social learning, and perceptions of school performance.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Greg Manzi, Assistant Superintendent. A purpose of the district-wide survey is to elicit feedback, informing our theory of action that if we focus on strengthening school communities by implementing multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS, students' perception of safety will increase. In the past 3 years, we have strategically rolled out professional learning sessions for our educators around multi-tiered system of supports. The district-wide survey is administered for students in grade 4 through grade 12. The district overall results for the perception of safety are shown on the first slide. The 2024-2025 results show slight increases in student responses, with most student groups' results near the district rate. The full results of the district-wide survey are now available on the district website, data.ccsd.net, under the surveys category. This includes district, municipality, region, and school-level results. As mentioned by Dr. Mansell previously, the survey also includes results from additional categories and different respondent types, including school-based staff and parents and/or guardians. On the next slide, you'll find the results for elementary schools. For elementary schools, the results include students in grade 4 and grade 5. The grades at elementary are purposely selected to allow for the highest degree of independence in completing the survey on their own. The results of the 2024-2025 school year reveal percentage positive responses slightly lower across a majority of the student groups when compared to the prior year. Even with the slight decline, elementary students continue to display the highest results when compared to other grades. On the third data slide, you'll find the results for middle schools. For middle schools, the results include students in grades 6 through grade 8. The results of the 2024-2025 school year reveal percentage positive responses slightly higher across most student groups when compared to the previous year. On the final data slide, you'll see the results for high schools. For high school, we include students in grades 9 through grade 12. We can observe that the results of the 2024-2025 school year are increased for the third consecutive year, including across a majority of student groups. This also represents the highest district rate, with the exception of the 2020-2021 school year, which was completed during distance learning. On the summary slide, you'll find a table with the results and targets. A note is included that the targets are from Focus 2024 strategic plan, and they expired at the conclusion of the 2022-2023 school year, but are provided for your reference. Limited context is available to compare the district performance to others. Comparison rates were generated based on similar questions, but no district asked identical questions to ours. The results from Los Angeles Unified School District are derived from one question, that is, I feel safe in this school or in online school sessions. The results for Washoe County School District, Denver Public Schools, and Miami-Dade Public Schools are derived from a singular question, all similar to I feel safe at my school. The results for Albuquerque Public Schools and Houston Independent School District are not available for us to draw comparisons.
Madam President, members of the board, General Counsel Okazaki, Kevin McPartland, Associate Superintendent. As we reflect on these results, we acknowledge and would like to highlight some of the challenges, successes, and lessons learned. Our challenges include a new student code of conduct was implemented this fall, which is the most significant shift in our processes in over 20 years. This type of update requires professional learning and time to fully and most effectively implement. We are aware, as another challenge, that there are external influences on student perceptions of safety, including media, community, and families, with a greater influence expected for our younger students. Our successes include we are continuing to see an increase in student perceptions of safety on our school campuses, as well as an increase in the percentages of available students that are participating in the survey. Another success is the collaboration with our principals to address challenges and implement solutions to the challenges through our Principal Safety Work Group, led by Mike Casey, our Chief of Operations. I'd like to also acknowledge two continuing successes from our presentation to you last spring. As planned as part of last year's presentation, we expanded student town halls to middle schools and have hosted eight such events at the middle level. We also note the high levels of perceived safety at our high school students, which correlates with the facility improvements completed at that level. Our lessons learned that we must explore avenues to be more consistent and purposeful in raising student voice at all levels, as we've seen here tonight with the presentation earlier. We must continue to focus on ensuring student safety through MTSS processes that are inclusive of academic, behavior, and social-emotional needs of all students. We also know that reentry plans are crucial, and we must continue to reinforce the need for consistent protocols for student re-engagement after students are removed from the learning environment.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, for the record, Greg Manzi. The public release of the district-wide survey results are available now on data.ccsd.net. The results from the district-wide survey will be utilized by school continuous improvement teams as part of the school improvement plan process from May 2025 through June 2025. Throughout the summer, school continuous improvement teams will have an opportunity to revise their school improvement plan to incorporate any action steps that may address the observations from the district-wide survey results. Many schools do include safety items in their connectedness goal, and that reflect in the results from their school organizational team, and they have those conversations openly in their community. As we begin the 2025-2026 school year, schools have the opportunity to implement new systems and revise anything to ensure that there's a safe adult for every student on campus, and they're building those relationships that we spoke about earlier. We thank you for this opportunity to present this update on the perceptions of student safety, and at this time, we'll pause and take any questions the board may have.
Thank you so much. Trustees, are there any questions for the staff? Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for the presentation. Always appreciated. I just had one brief question, believe it or not, on our students that are coming in with re-entry plans. You know, with all the social and emotional aspects, what has been the biggest challenge for those students that are re-entering?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Cavazos. So as we build the re-entry plans, again, it is about student safety for other students and the students about making sure they've been re-engaged academically and providing the social emotional support. So certainly I'd say the one that is the most challenging because it requires the more of the assessment piece would be that mental health piece that we can do to support. So that's been the challenge, but it is a part of every plan we build.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Trustee Biasotti?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to call your attention to slide 9. You have here the high school results, and it does say that the percents are reflecting the responses that were negative when you asked the perception of safety. So I see here where you separated by race that amongst Asian and white, you have the highest percentage of those that do not feel safe. Is that correct?
Madam President, members of the board, Trustee Biasotti, so the way that the charts work, this is a positive percentage of perception, so the higher the number, the better the result would be in this case.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I know I had to remind my brain that it was the opposite. I want a higher number, so yes. Yes, good. Make sure we're paying attention. Trustee Biasotti, did you have another question, or was that it?
No, that is all. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Esparza-Straffagan.
So thank you very much. From our briefing, we requested the elementary, middle, and high. I'm excited because I believe this is the first time, Superintendent, that we were able to get, she's not here, but I'm talking to her spirit, that we were able to get the data, like, thank you, like quick, from last week to this week. It really is telling for each level to see them by, delineated by elementary, middle, and high, because the issues are not the same in those different schools. So one of the things I really want to talk about is the district average in comparison to African American students. At every level, there is some concern because district-wide, 88.9%, and then African American students district-wide, 74%. I mean, it's on the chart. It's so tiny, but I want the public to know because they may not be able to see it. Putting it on record, elementary, we have 86% compared to our African American students at 81%. The gap is 5%. Middle school, 76%. African American students, 69%. That gap is 7%. High school, 81.5%. African American, 75%, which is another, like the gap for them. I'm curious, in our town halls, how are we finding out and listening to our African American students because they don't feel safe or things are happening? We look at the disparity of consequences. So can someone speak to that, or what are we going to do different to tap into what they're experiencing?
Thank you, Trustee Esparza-Straffagan. No, it's good. It's good. So it's a great question. And this is something that obviously affects our work in a number of areas, right? Disproportionality in discipline, disproportionality in the safety service. So when we go do the student surveys, which again, with Dr. Scavella's team, again, we really flush out the relationships, the sense of belonging, the seeing myself in the curriculum, all those types. And so the results go to, again, specifically to the school, and his staff provides training to the staff. They come out and do follow-up with the students as well. So that's the first piece. But additionally, as we look at disproportionate in discipline and those things, is we are also working with the Nevada Department of Education to really go through and have schools that we see this type of data in, going through and doing self-inventories to really flush out some root causes at their specific school, and then building an action plan around that will be embedded in their school improvement plan. So that's also kind of the next step for us.
Thank you. I would love a follow-up to, in the future when you guys come back, I would love to hear what are some of the recommendations, what are the plans showing us, and how can we continue to get those numbers better, specifically for our African American students. I think, thank you for the clarity on there's actual action that is being done.
Thank you. Trustee Barron?
Thank you very much. Madam Madam President, I guess as we're already getting kind of late here, I want to thank you very much, gentlemen, for the report. Dr. McPartland, I also want to say thank you very much for parsing out these by group. As I understand, part of this effort has also been numerous town halls, correct? Do we have any chance to get reports that topics that students might have brought up at these town halls and let us know? They could be like overall if they did a survey or if they brought in colloquial, individual concerns. I would like, because of course we can't get out to all these town halls, but just as we saw just a couple hours ago, we saw the students they're very reflective and they're very aware of what's going on, and they're living this stuff, right? So I would very much like to see some reports specifically about what they think, on what they're seeing. Number two, and I think you kind of alluded to it. I was kind of hoping that if there was any specific hot spots of concern. Sometimes we have things that happen out in the community, and there's sometimes some frictions out there in the community that are reflected, that wind up getting reflected in our schools. But I think you kind of alluded to that. I wanted to hear the lesson learned, what are going to be the positive, or if we have any positive things that we can actually point to, or any plans that would develop, specifically to go after particular hotspots or particular concerns.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Trustee Barone. And much to my mother's chagrin, it's just Mr., not Doctor, but I appreciate that. So let me take the first part of your question is just with the student town halls. And as we've presented this to you through the student discipline presentation, we heard your feedback loud and clear. So things that we've added are student surveys as well as principal reflections to what are the two things that principal heard in that town hall that is going to become actionable at that school, and then we follow up with them. So we'll be presenting student discipline in June, and I'll have that for you then where we'll kind of go into that in more detail. But exactly what you're asking for, that is a step that we've added to that process for sure. Regarding hotspots, in general, as we've discussed in the brief, middle schools are kind of across the board hotspots for some student behaviors and some of the safety issues that we've seen. Specific hotspots, there's not a specific trend in there that they pop up here, we address, but I would say our focus of a lot of my team has been at the middle level.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Stroffigan, do you want to close this out?
I'm exceeding my time, but no one else jumped. Okay. So I want to hear a lot of the issues, too, are happening outside of the school. It's in the community, and it trickles in. A lot of things are happening online with our kids. So I'm curious, and maybe included in the future, what are the things that we're hearing about the online issues, and how are we trying to provide intervention, support, resources to mitigate, and also how the community comes into the schools, to take care of that. And I know you don't have that now, but I think we need to start really zoning in on some of those issues as well, because that's where kids are living.
Thank you so much. Kevin?
Oh, no,
Mr.
that's all right. I
McPartland?
was only going to say I will add that to our notes for the next presentation.
That's what I took it as, so for future conversation. So thank you, gentlemen, for, it's important for us to have these crucial conversations. I'm really grateful for the questions from the team. At this time, I'm going to go to our public comment, and we have Mr. Gessling, I believe is how you say the last name. Oh, if you could please come forth, thank you. And please just state your name for the record. I want to make sure I said it correctly.
My name is Jackson Glessing.
Glessing, okay. Please proceed.
So I just wanted to talk to you guys today. Thank you again for giving me your time. I really do appreciate this. I believe that as students, we can't fully perceive how safe we are. I don't think that, I think that while the tests are helpful on assisting on checkups of mental well-being, I believe that they don't serve the purpose that it's intended. Around my school, I would love to see more implementation of what we see, the data that we are receiving from these tests, because I think that it's important to me. I sometimes don't feel safe at my own school, but you know, what have I seen for that to change? You know, I see people going in-house. This past year, I've walked into my school and, you know, the roads have changed that we can only get in through one side. You know, we have sensors at our school where we have to scan our ID just to walk in. I don't feel like I am safe. I feel like I have to be protected by my school, and I want to feel like I have the ability to just be safe and speak my mind, you know, at my school and inside of my community. That's pretty much it. I just want to say, again, thank you guys, but yeah, I just want to see more implementation in our schools, because that's really what's important. You know, this data that we're getting, I feel like it's a great help to us, but if I'm not seeing it in my school and my fellow peers aren't seeing it, then what's the point of taking these tests saying I do or I don't feel safe, you know? But that's all. Thank you guys very much for your time again. I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that's
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate your participation. With that, then, I will entertain a motion to accept the report as presented. Trustee Esparza-Straffigan.
You're so fast. I'm trying to get the number.
Oh, the number is 4.02.
Madam President, I would make a motion to accept 4.02 as presented.
Thank you. I have a first. Trustee Dominguez?
I would like to second the motion.
I have a second. Please cast your votes. That motion passes 6-0. Next, we will go to our public comment on items not listed as action items on the agenda. And we do have people that have called in. And so we have two microphones, one on my right, one on my left. I will call your name, and if you could please come forth. Forgive me if I butcher the last name. Please help me. I have Philip Ott. Okay, and then Braden Bolter. Maybe got it. You could take either side, Mr. Philip, and Mr. Braden, either side. You could come forth. Yes, right here. And I'll let Philip go first. Yeah, right up here on my left, there's a microphone that has yes, sir. Right there. And you want him to go first?
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you. I
Mr.
appreciate
Braden,
that.
please go first.
All right. Good evening, board members. As you know, my name is Braden Bolter, and I'm here as a student of Arborview, but above all, a representative of a community that's hurting right now. The loss of Mackenzie Scott was not just a tragedy, but a wake-up call to all of us. While nothing can bring her back, this moment is forcing all of us to look at what really matters: student safety, student voice, and the kind of community we need to build. Arborview isn't just a school, it's a family. I've never seen so many students, staff, and parents come together these past few days. We've shown strength, unity, and love like no other, and the truth is, you guys should be inspired by that. With the recent leadership change in the district and everything we're facing as a community right now, I'm asking the leaders of this district right now to take this moment as a chance to turn the page, to start truly representing us and working with us. Too often policies feel disconnected from the students, and communication does not feel all there. Our voices matter, our lives matter, so work with us, represent us, and prove to us that student safety is your top priority and not just a talking point. Thank you guys so much for letting me speak up here, and God bless all of you and the work you do for us.
Thank you. Mr. Philip, and then after that, Adriana Ornales.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Philip Alt, for the record. I am the parent of a minor child at formerly Liberty High School. just a little background. We moved here from Frisco, Texas about 2 years ago, in about January of 23. In the short time that we've been here, the amount of corruption that I've uncovered in the medical, legal, and now educational system is highly alarming. My daughter's civil rights and my parental rights were violated multiple dangerous ways. I've been a single father since 2015. I'm the only one that's registered in many schools since then, and I designate certain people to have certain information. What happened in December 2024, while attending Liberty High School, my 15-year-old daughter was secretly given a crushed abortion pill on school grounds by an adult who trafficked it by way of his son to the school back in December 2024. I talked to his father, I talked to the police. They did nothing about it. Liberty's staff lied so many times. I didn't find out about this major incident until my daughter got into a physical fight with the girl at the school, with another girl, regarding the situation in March. In efforts to get the truth, I asked for the name of the social worker involved starting March 12, 2025. I was repeatedly misled by CCSD staff, including a person who I later learned was the supervisor of the social worker that I was asking about. She let me run in circles for over a month, knowing who I was asking, knowing she was who I was asking for, knowing who I was asking for the entire time. I only got real answers after I filed complaints with the Nevada Board of Social Workers and Post in the last couple of weeks. I also discovered that the body-worn camera from CCSD PD was either deleted or never recorded. I was invited to schedule an appointment to review the footage, only to be told it didn't exist when I arrived after waiting weeks. Retaliation. After I threatened to file federal complaints and my risk management complaint was dismissed, Liberty High School withdrew my children citing wrong address a mere 4 weeks before the end of school. This was nothing short of retaliation for a father fighting for justice. I filed a FOIA request over 2 months ago with no response. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Adriana, and then Hannah Khan. Oh, could be here on my left. Please proceed.
Hi. For the record, my name is Adriana Ornelas. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, educators, parents, and students present. My name is Adriana Ornelas, and I'm the student body president at Arborview High School. I am here today to speak to the board about finding overdue reform regarding the incredible number of tragedies that we as a community have and continue to witness in and around our schools. The Arborview community and all of Clark County have been heavily impacted by what occurred to Mackenzie Scott on Friday, May 2nd. The situation was regarding an alleged drunk driver who hit and killed our classmate. Although traffic signs might not have prevented this issue in this specific circumstance, other traffic incidents similar to and some less tragic have taken place at not only our school, but all schools around the valley. Some examples being Friday 14th, 2020, when 2 Somerset Losi students were crossing a marked crosswalk, were struck by a car, resulting in 1 student losing their life and 1 being left with brain damage. Although these incidents involve students at a charter school, the problem persists. At Arborview 3 weeks ago, another one of our students was struck by a car while riding his bike and had his leg broken, which resulted in emergency surgery. Nothing was done in response. I would like to make sure that this trend of apathy doesn't continue. It is sad to know that precautions could have been taken over the years to prevent more injuries and pain in this community, and while I am fully aware that this may not be specific to the board's jurisdiction, I know that there are very powerful voices in front of me in this room and who, united as one, can make tremendous change. We, the students at Arborview High School, propose installing overhead flashing pedestrian crossing lights so that when students or other pedestrians crossing the street, they can press a button that activates the lights so that drivers yield to the person utilizing the crosswalk. There are many located in our area, such as in front of Fire Station 41 and others further down Buffalo in between Centennial Hills Target and Centennial Hills YMCA, just southwest of John Herbert Drive. Adding more of these crosswalks would help all students coming to and from school, and especially students who are drivers who have limited student parking spaces. The presence of pedestrian lights are sporadic at best through the valley, but we need to do better for our students, for our CCSD community, and for students who should still be with us today like Mackenzie. Even if a CCSD police vehicle is parked at the intersection of Buffalo and Whispering Sands with its lights on, it would serve as a notice for drivers to proceed with caution and slow down. It is a surprise to me that from the part of North Buffalo that begins at the junction of US 95 and Sky Point Drive to the end where it turns into North Silverstone Ranch Drive, a stretch of only 1.9 miles, there are 3 schools, 2 public parks, 2 preschools, a large public library, a community YMCA, and yet the speed limit is still 40 miles per hour with neighborhoods surrounding it all. I believe that the speed limit should be lowered as it is proven time and time again that drivers cannot simply slow down. I would also like to mention that there is exactly 300 feet in the space where the speed limit goes from 40 miles per hour to 15, and frankly, school zones are not long enough. Thank you so much for your time and cooperation.
Thank you. Hannah, and then we have Danielle Carter.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam President, trustees, Superintendent Ebert, educators, parents, and students. My name is Hannah Cohn, a freshman at Arborview High School, and I am here today with a heavy heart and a clear purpose to speak about the tragic loss of Mackenzie Scott, a beloved senior at Arborview High, who was taken from us far too soon when simply trying to cross the street. Mackenzie was not just a student, she was a daughter, a friend, and a bright light in our community, with dreams and aspirations, preparing to step into the world after graduation with a full-ride scholarship to the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. Her life was cut short at a moment, at a crosswalk that was supposed to be safe. And while nothing we say or do can bring her back, we have an urgent responsibility to make sure her death is not left in vain. The crosswalk where Mackenzie was killed must be addressed immediately. I am urging you to work with the city and county to install a flashing light signal with a pedestrian-activated button and on Buffalo at the crosswalk leading into the entrance of Arborview High School. The pedestrian signal is formally recognized to the City of Las Vegas and Transportation Engineering Division as a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Similar signs and lights are found all over the city, like in front of Fire Station 41, next to the LDS Church on Tule Springs, and even the Boulder Highway Pedestrian Safety Project that is adding pedestrian beacons to over 20 intersections. But there's more to Mackenzie's death than just traffic. It was a consequence of driving under the influence. The person behind the wheel made a decision that destroyed a family and devastated a community. And right now, our laws are not doing it enough to address this kind of reckless behavior. That is why I'm calling on this board to formally engage with state legislators and advocate for harsher penalties for DUI offenses, especially those that result in injury or death. As a board, your voice means something so much more substantial to the entirety of CCSD. That's why we're all here today, right? Enough is enough. These are not just accidents, they're preventable tragedies. Let Mackenzie's name be a call to action. Let her memory drive us to build safer roads, to push for stronger laws, and never accept the idea that this is just how the way things are. Because it doesn't have to be this way. We know we can cause change. We owe it to her, and we owe it to every student walking to school tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Next, I think I have, I know I see 2 of you. Yes, is it Danielle Carter? I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I'm Scott Johnson, this is Danielle Carter.
Got it.
Do you mind if I go first?
Not at all, Mr.
Okay.
Johnson, if that's okay with Ms. Carter. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So good evening, Superintendent and members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Scott Johnson. I have been a science teacher at Chaparral High School for 5 years. On January 23rd, we addressed this board to raise concern about Assistant Principal Tricia Killinois' unprofessional conduct and mismanagement of school funds, yet our pleas have been ignored. Despite a protest in front of the school, coverage in multiple media outlets, the only response was a mass email stating that if we had issues, we could go to Principal Cummings. This made most people feel less heard, as we have already approached her in the past with no change. Our sole meeting with Assistant Superintendent Meisel in January was unproductive. He stated that no action would be taken, and neither he nor Principal Cummings has followed up. Reports of Killinois' dismissive and confrontational behavior towards students, staff, teachers, and parents describe a toxic environment. Last year, almost the entire math department moved to different schools, and everyone I've spoken to attributes their departure to Killinois' actions. Many staff and parents want her removed, but fear retaliation and believe she will target them for speaking out. This demands a prompt, impartial investigations. Unanswered questions about mismanaged funds coupled with the abrupt removal of Chromebooks deepen our concerns. Principal Cummings has provided no formal explanation for collection of Chromebooks, relying on others to communicate without sending direct message. This decision limits teachers' instructional tools and restricts students' access to Canvas, educational sites, and college or job applications, allowing only select students such as those in AP classes to retain Chromebooks feels inequitable and just. We demand action. A petition from earlier this year requesting that Ms. Killinois' behavior be corrected was presented to the board. All petitions and letters from individuals who have suffered from Ms. Killinois' abuse treatment have been obtained by Channel 3, Channel 13, and the Review Journal. On April 25th, Celeste Rayford, Region 2 Director, received the petition and the letters. We have followed protocols when in front of this board before. It is not a secret in the district or the community surrounding Chaparral. Superintendent Ebert, we realize that you are new to this position. We believe this is an opportunity to demonstrate to staff and students that you want to ensure our success and retain the talent that guides our children. This situation must be addressed in the interest of CCSD, staff, and students. We cannot rest until resolution. We are asking you to meet the moment and make certain that Ms. Killinois can no longer poison Chaparral. We will not be silenced. We urge you to investigate Killinois' conduct, establish a safe process for reporting concerns, provide transparency on school finances, restore Chromebook access to all students. Our students, parents, and staff deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Carter?
Good evening, Superintendent, members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Danielle Carter, and I am the truancy officer at Chaparral High School. I stand before you today to address serious concerns that have prevented me from effectively serving our students and tackling the critical issues of absenteeism. For the past 5 months, I have faced retaliation that has undermined my ability to perform my duties, and I am here to respectfully request your intervention. This situation began after a meeting with Assistant Principal Tricia Killinois, where my job responsibilities were abruptly changed in a manner I found unprofessional. When I respectfully stated that I would not tolerate mistreatment, the retaliation intensified. For the first 3 months of my role, I was able to address truancy effectively. However, for the last 5 months, I have been assigned to sit in the library, tasked with calling over 185 students, each with more than 60 absences, to discuss attendance plans. Most of these students are not present, making this an ineffective use of my time and failing to address the severe truancy problem at our school. Moreover, I have been assigned duties outside my role, such as those of a campus security monitor, without additional compensation. I have also experienced ongoing intimidation from Assistant Principal Tricia Killinois, including inappropriate behavior during lunch duties, which I find unacceptable and unprofessional. The role of a truancy officer is essential to improving student attendance through home visits, wellness checks, and engaging parents to address the reasons behind absenteeism. Yet, the current environment has prevented me from fulfilling these responsibilities. I have raised these concerns multiple times with Principal Crystal Cummings and requested to work under a different administrator, but no action has been taken. I am not alone in these experiences. Other staff members have reported similar instances of mistreatment, retaliation, and harassment by Assistant Principal Tricia Killinois, who has used her authority to act without accountability. We have followed the chain of command, escalating concerns to Principal Cummings, to this board, and Mr. Meisel, who oversees the principal, but no resolution has been reached. Today, I respectfully urge the board to investigate these matters and take decisive action. I request that Assistant Principal Tricia Killinois be removed to a role where she can no longer mistreat or retaliate against staff. Our students deserve a truancy officer who can focus on bringing them back to school, and our staff deserve a workplace free of intimidation. Thank you for your time and consideration. I am committed to working with you to ensure resolution that prioritizes the well-being of our students and staff.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. And then I have a public comment card, Mr. Johnson. Yes. I know that if you could submit it to our staff, we will make sure that that is entered to the record, but our legal counsel has asked us to submit it so that we could make it part of the record. Okay. So thank you. Next, I have Mr. Millis, I think.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then after that is Kenzie Stevens. If you could come forth and you could take the mic on my left. Please proceed.
Hi, I'm a teacher at Chaparral High School, and I also agree that Miss Kellanoy has been a problem, but I actually think she's a symptom of a bigger problem. And actually wasn't going to say this, but you guys had a big focus on mental health during this, and Mrs. Cummings, who I am going to talk about mostly here, she decided to hire an assistant principal, add a new position, and cut our therapist, who last year got a grant from Home Depot to set up a therapy room. I actually emailed you guys all a letter about that. If any of you got that, you know, it's also covered the Chromebooks. But I think that when it comes down to it, Ms. Cummings has been an unethical and ineffective leader. She set up a really poor environment, and there's too much stuff to list in this amount of time. But I want to go into a really important concern. So about a month ago, give or take, when that same assistant principal she added was breaking up a fight, and after the fight was broken up, he put a kid in a chokehold. And this was at lunch. It was seen by lots of people. An outside worker from an outside organization saw this and reported it to CPS because she's a mandated reporter. And I also did that. And then to report it to her boss. The director of our organization called Crystal Cummings, who then said no staff member broke up a fight, and lied to her boss. Then called that same worker into her office and gave her the third degree about why did you do this? Why would you call this? And she knows why. And I would argue that this is not only unethical, that this is actually a violation of Nevada law, an intimidation of a witness. This is not the only unprofessional behavior. I was investigated last year by Ms. Cummings. She, during that investigation, shared the details freely throughout the school, where I was having multiple staff members come up to me going, they're so mad at what you did, and they're talking about the stuff which was highly unprofessional. In that meeting, in the investigatory interview, I said to her, I'll be the first teacher that you run out of this school, and she laughed in my face. At the end of the school year, my boss told my supervisor last year, told me that she tried to mandate that I get an ineffective rating. But he argued and got me just over an effective rating, but still extremely low. This has been a problem. I think the biggest problem we have actually at Chaparral is actually the laser focus on improving the star rating, but not by improving our educational outcomes, but by manipulation of data. We had a meeting where Ms. Cummings laid out how the star rating worked, and I'm a social studies teacher, so we don't get tested, and said, you need to go and start to help us improve our ACT scores. We also had a WIDA meeting where they said our goal is not going to be to help those kids who can't read, who can't speak English and can't understand English. We're going to get the kids right on the borderline because that helps our data. And that has been their number one goal, is clearly focused on data. And I only got a second left, but I feel like Greg Meisel, and I could go into what he did when I was student teaching at Del Sol, who had the similar things, is also part of this problem. And if you ask him to go and do this, that's not going to...
Thank you so much for your comments. Ms. Stevens, and then after Ms. Stevens, Erica, you'll be next. Thank you. Please proceed.
Good evening, board members. My name is Kenzie Stevens, and I am a senior at Arborview High School. My peers and I are determined to make a change because this issue extends far beyond our school, and it is a district-wide problem. And in just 1 year, the number of students hit by cars while walking to or from school has more than doubled. Around this time of the year, last year, this number stood at 52 students. Today, that number has risen to 106. This is not just a statistic, it is a crisis. And we cannot afford to wait for these numbers to climb even higher. It is time to take action, raise awareness, and implement solutions to ensure the safety of students across our district. Together, we can make a difference. Clark County School District responded to the recent accident by stating, traffic safety is a community matter, and it will take the entire community to ensure safety to and from school each day. While that sentiment is important, it raises a crucial question. Why does it take a tragedy for meaningful action to occur? I have attended Arborview for 3 years, and despite past incidents, some eerily similar to this one, no noticeable changes were made until now. In previous incidents where thankfully no lives were lost, there were no visible efforts to direct traffic, no additional safety measures put in place, but now, after a devastating loss, we finally see law enforcement actively managing traffic, something that could have and should have been implemented long before. This is not just about Arborview. This is the entire district. We need proactive solutions and not reactive responses. Students should not have to risk their lives to get to school safely. If traffic safety is truly a community responsibility, then it is time for everyone, schools, city officials, and law enforcement to commit to lasting preventative measures that protect students before another tragedy occurs. We are ready to fight for that change, and we need everyone, our schools, students, our city, and our community to stand with us. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you guys all for allowing me to speak. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you for your comments. Miss Erica, you're next, and then Mr. Camejo, you're up after her.
Good afternoon, President Bustamante, trustee board members, and Superintendent Ebert. Erica Nungri for the record, and I speak today as an education and support professional and as someone who has recently attended Chaparral High School SOT meeting. What I witnessed was deeply concerning and indicative of a larger pattern, mismanagement that is harming both students and staff. The principal stated that due to budget constraints, students will no longer be allowed to take Chromebooks home next year. This decision directly disadvantages students who rely on technology to complete assignments, particularly those without internet or device access at home. Instead, teachers will be forced to check out Chromebook cart daily, adding another logistic burden to their already demanding jobs. Chaparral has been plagued with poor leadership decisions for years. I work at a neighboring high school, and I frequently encounter desperate parents at my work site begging for help transferring their children out of Chaparral due to the environment created by administration. And although I would love to please my own principal by welcoming as many students as we can, no family should feel they must move schools because of a toxic administrative culture. What's even more troubling is how the district continues to reward this poor leadership by protecting administrators, framing them as new despite their harmful treatment of employees. The recent budget surplus decisions at Chaparral included eliminating a full-time truancy officer and removing a student health assistant, under the justification that the school had 2 SHAWs, yet the school retained 2 communities and school positions. Is Region reviewing these decisions with a critical lens? Are they asking questions about which roles are being removed, or are they simply approving whatever comes through? Because eliminating positions that directly support student safety and well-being while keeping others without full transparency or equity sends a harmful message. I ask the board and the district leadership, when will you stop protecting toxic administrators at the expense of the staff and students who suffer under them? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Camejo, and then Mr. Gonzalez, you will round us out.
Hello, everybody. Abraham Camejo for the record. Members of the Board of Trustees, Superintendent, good to see you. Looking sharp. And everybody looks young. I'm here as a parent and as a subject matter expert in risk management and safety. I own a business. This is what I do as a profession. I am quoting today's RJ story regarding Bailey Middle School. District officials were asked on Thursday about whether there would be any security updates on Bailey Middle School. In March, a parent did go into the school and threatened it to shoot and kill a teacher. That's on record. Emails between principals and school district officials, the school district said that they've been asking for these gates since 2019, for these gates, 2 years, every 2 years. School district officials today responded that they would continue with the 2027 plan, and the story today confirmed that, today, Thursday, that no change, regardless of the safety concerns from those who work there at that school, end quote. By Clark County School District standards, the Eastside schools require a death of one of our school children to move the needle for safer schools. Policy regarding safety enhancements were approved in 2022 school year, Monaco Middle School has these security safety gates. This week, another parent was able to walk into Bailey Middle School. This is continuing. I know my neighborhood. I live on the east side. I am here as a parent. I'm here as a subject matter expert. The school district emergency risk management, your team, your subject matter expert that oversees that region does not agree with this school not having the gate not installed. I took the liberty and called some of my friends in construction that do gates, and I got quotes back for $25,000 to install this gate, can be furnished within 1 week. I'm here trying to get a gate for $25,000, and Lord forbid that the school district puts out a bid and we get back an estimate for over $100,000 for something that can be done for $25,000. This week is safety week for many industries, and this meeting is a safety meeting. I appreciate it. The students have been hit at Arbor, and now we had a student death. Are we waiting for somebody to get shot and killed on the east side? I'm warning you. I do this as a profession. Please. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, my name is Ed Gonzalez. I'm just going to speak as an individual today. I apologize, Madam President. I know I feel like I'm adding an extra 3 minutes to this meeting being the final one, but I haven't had an opportunity to welcome Superintendent Ebert. I'm usually not in this room. It's a little different seeing you over here. I feel like I should be angrier. I'm usually calm when I was in the other building over at the State Board of Education. So, but I know, like, during the last couple months, I had many people ask me, like, what are your thoughts on the school board? What are your thoughts on the new superintendent? And I've been pleasantly surprised. I know you got a lot of challenges. The incident at Arborview is obviously tragic and having to deal with those situations as well. But I just want to thank you because I can feel a little bit of a difference at schools. I see you going around visiting schools. It's a welcome change of what we've seen from the previous superintendent. I always felt like as we move forward, it was really difficult if you had an issue to change, trying to be heard. And then trying to be heard after that is like actually getting some results. So I'm happy you're in the position. So I just wanted to come by and thank you for being here. I know this isn't an easy district to run. I know it's something that could be easily said, nah, I could just retire, I'll be fine. So I appreciate you, and I do appreciate this board. And I'm going to say something else too. As a SOT member at Hickey, we're selecting our new principal. Actually, we go through our interview process on Monday. And I just wanted to say publicly, I do appreciate our school associate superintendent, Dr. Ron Gerzon. He's been very well in this process. We've asked him a couple of different questions at times. I know Rancho did a town hall. We did a survey, got 135 people filled out the survey, 2/3 parents. But I thought what was interesting is that we asked them for some student data. We said, how does the district feel about our school from student data, to sort of get a different perspective of how our boss is supervisor. And I know he ran up to the chain, and I believe his regional superintendent's here too, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think he's doing a really good job. He's been very patient with us and giving me some good feedback, so I just want to put that onto the record, Madam President and Superintendent Ebert. And with that, with a minute to go, I will be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzalez. That will end our public comment on items not listed as action items on the agenda. Next is 6.01, upcoming meeting announcement. Our next Board of Trustee meeting will be on Thursday, May 15th at 2025, 5 p.m. At this time, we'll move to item number 7. I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting. Trustee Biasotti?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Dominguez.
I'd like to second.
I have a first and a second. Will you please cast your votes? That motion passes 6-0. The time is 7:25. Thank you, everyone.